Now let's return to Bill Albright's Twin H Ranch in Fontana, California.
This is a little 1940 Hudson business coupe, a Super 6, that I restored just as original, except I put a 1952 Hornet 7X NASCAR racing engine in it with headers and a Twin H. And we run this at the quarter mile at the Antique National Drag Races. It runs consistent 18 seconds, which surprises a lot of the bigger cars. Have a lot of fun with it.
So this was a real hot rod in its time.
Well, after we put the Hornet 7X engine in it, yeah, as original, it only had a 212 cubic inch Splasher 6. But we've improved the performance quite a bit by adding the Hornet engine.
When I think of this era of Hudson, it seems to be most of what I see in magazines are sedans, 2 doors and mostly 4 doors. So coupes, they're pretty rare.
Right, yeah, it's a rare. This car sat in a junkyard in Riverside for 35 years. And we rescued it out of there and brought it back to its original state. The original color is what left the factory in. It's called jade blue, and it's actually a shade of green.
Any trend you notice in Hudson drivers? Is there a certain type of person that prefers Hudsons?
Mostly gray-haired folks.
Okay, that would be me.
But trying to get some of the younger people interested in. We have a lot of second and third generation kids, but it's hard to get outsiders in, and they want the more modern stuff.
Are most of these, I mean, you can't make a sweeping statement for every year, I know, but are they pleasant to drive, or are they a wrestling match to drive, or it just depends on the car?
They were a fine road car back then, and of course some of them have 200,000 mile on them, so you got to do kingpins. But no, you can bring them back to new if they have a lot of mileage, and if it's under 100,000 mile car, they drive just fine.
Every once in a while I see a Hudson truck. I see you have one back there
Yeah,
in the
I
corner.
have 2 trucks. I have our shop truck flatbed, and then I have one that I'll show you in a minute that's fully restored in the front room.
Let's go take a look at it.
Sure.
So Bill, Hudson trucks have a very unique look. They seem to be a real combination of a sedan and a pickup truck.
Right, actually it's what gets the first El Camino. They used the car sheet metal and just chopped them off here and rounded it off and made a pickup truck out of them. They made approximately 5,000 of these, 46 and 47, about 2,500 each year approximately. And this is a 46. It was a nice low mileage original truck. I found it up in Fresno, and we did a frame up on it. It's really authentic. I've got even down to the pinstriping on the wheels. It's got 5 Blackwall 650 16s, and we even painted the wood in the bed black the way they left the factory. Several that I've restored, I've varnished them and stained them, but to make them authentic, you got to paint the wood black in the bed. And the dash is all done exactly the way it left the factory. It's got the 212 cubic inch Splasher 6 engine and a stick overdrive, and I have installed a radio and heater, so it's a fully equipped truck.
So the front ends of these, were they the suspension, the sedan suspension?
No, they were a little heavier duty.
Okay.
They were the same as the Commodore 8 sedan, which was a heavier duty spring rate and larger brake drums too.
And then, of course, the back end, they set them up.
And it's a
for trucking.
128 inch wheelbase, which the sedans were 121 inch, so it really rides nice with that long wheelbase.
How many of these do you think there are left?
There are quite a few of these. Almost everybody that collects Hudsons wants a Hudson truck in their collection, so there are actually hundreds of these things left. They were rugged and heavy duty, and they survived. Yeah, this is a 1946 Hudson Super 6 convertible, restored in Nepal ivory. I have upgraded a little bit. It's got a 12-volt system and pleated seats, which the original convertibles had a plain seat. But it's a fun car to drive, and it's a mate to my 47 gold one, which you'll see in a little bit. I've got a pair of these, 6 and a 7. 41 to 47, almost everything's interchangeable.
Okay.
Of course, the Commodore series had heavier duty parts than the Super series.
So the entry-level Hudson was what model?
Well, actually in 4041 they had what they called a Traveler, which was a shorter wheelbase. That would be your low-price entry level. And then they went to the Super 6 and then the Commodore series.
So the Commodore was the top of the line.
Right.
Okay. Speaking of top of the line, that convertible you just referred to is pretty nice. Take a look at that.
Yeah, the one outside, 47.
Bill, this is pretty flashy. I see Barbara Stanwyck or somebody standing next to this.
Well, if you watch the old black and white movies of Charlie Chan, he used to drive one of these in the Charlie Chan series. But this is a 47 Super 6 convertible. It's got a few Commodore items like the fender lights. They were standard on a Commodore, optional on the Super series. And it's got a Commodore steering wheel, which a lot of the convertibles had that put on to dress them up a little bit. I've also added rear fender skirts. They're an aftermarket skirt, but I think they make the car look quite a bit more attractive. It's a original engine with a stick-over drive. It's a great driver. And you run down the road 70 mile an hour with it.
How about the color on this? Is that a stock
It's
color?
not an original color. Actually, it's a, to tell the truth, it's a 77 Mazda color, but I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it looks good on it. What colors were available then? It was your standard kind of blacks and browns, or did
Well, they had about 14, I think, different colors in 46.7. Then they had a special color for the convertibles called Nepal Ivory, and that's what my 46 is painted. But they weren't too flashy and brilliant in those days. And the trade secret was you could only get a blue interior in these.
Really?
That's all you could get after the war. They had blue, blue, and blue.
That was a cloth interior?
Right. No, it was a leather interior. Yeah. But most guys want to dress them up a little bit because they were a very plain, unpleated interior. And if you want to take a look at this one, it's got Connolly leather and it's pleated.
Okay, let's take a look. Pretty nice. That looks great. So the inspiration for this interior is just you liked it, or this is replicating the way the original was stitched, just with a different material?
No, this is about the same size as the pleats in the 48 convertibles, and it's got the piping in it. Makes it stand out a little bit better. And it has a Commodore steering wheel, which had a horn ring. The Super steering wheel just had a small horn button with no horn ring.
What year did they start putting automatic transmissions in these?
The first automatic, truly automatic, was in the 51 Hornet. They used a single range Hydromatic, which they purchased from General Motors. And then mid-52, they went to a dual range Hydromatic, which was a 4-speed that you could downshift. And they used that Hydromatic transmission. They're still using it in drag racers because you could really beef them up, and they were very durable. Cadillac used the same transmission, so it worked in a Hudson.
When Hudson, say in what, 56, when they were dressed up Ramblers or Nashes, were the sales so dismal that they just stopped making them, or did it just didn't make any sense to?
No, the sales were bad. A lot of the Hudson dealers pulled out of it and wouldn't sell those cars.
So there are a lot of broken-hearted traditional Hudson owners about that.
Yeah, they sure were.
Yeah.
What we have here is a 38 Hudson 8 Opera Coupe. I think it's the only one known to exist. It's got jump seats behind the driver's seat. The car I bought in Riverside, California 11 years ago, and it just sat till about 2 years ago, and I started on it and I did a frame up on it. It's got new old stock trip driving lights and new old stock fender lights, new old stock hood ornament. Everything else we plated and polished. And it's got a gorgeous interior with a floor shifter 3-speed and the original straight 8 engine. You can take a look at the interior if you like. I have the wood graining done by Mr. Don Benson. He's a professional wood grainer. He's been doing it for 40 years. This material is almost identical to the material that was in the car. The steering wheel is not quite original. That's off a 51 Hornet. I have a banjo wheel for it, but it needs restored, the original wheel. So that'd be the last piece to make it completely authentic 38.
What kind of market were they going for with this particular Opera Coupe?
You know, I wasn't around in 38. Yeah. I'm sure it was in the upper high price range. I can't imagine going to the opera myself, but I'm sure there were people that thought that would be the cool car to take to the opera.
Okay, so somebody that was fairly well heeled but didn't need a sedan, this might be what they bought.
Right. And a lot of doctors bought these for doctor's coupes. You got a large trunk area. And it has 2 little jump seats behind the driver's seat here, which one is permanent and the other one flips down.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one of these before.
Yeah, it's the only one that we know of.
What a great spot and a great time we've had here at the Twin H Ranch in Fontana, California. Bill Albright, thank you very much.
Glad to have you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And if you watch at the end of the show in the credits, you'll see a phone number and you can contact Bill, and if you have any questions about Hudsons or maybe even are looking for one. So thanks for watching. We'll see you.
We're going to go around the block.
Going around the block, he says.
Hey, don't go anywhere because we are going to spend some time with George Barris.